3, 2, 1, here we go. Have you ever wondered how to beat the Queen's Indian defense with the white pieces? Throughout your chess career, you will face this opening with white if you are a d4 player. What is this video going to be all about? Well, on the board we have the Queen's Indian defense. Let's take it from the top. I'm going to show you many different ways to handle this defense. So many top players play this from the black side. Here we go. Then I'm going to show you what I play against it and also the new moves coming up against this defense. Here we go. d4, knight f6, c4, e6. And after knight f3, black plays b6. The point is the bishop can come out to b7 or to a6 to put pressure in the center. If the bishop goes to b7, we are controlling, black is controlling e4 straight away. If the bishop comes to a6, we are attacking c4. So what setup do I recommend? Well, we are going to contest against this diagonal. So we're going to go g3 ourselves. And after bishop b7, we will play bishop to g2. Both sides are fianchettoing. One of the best ways to play against the Queen's Indian. Black goes bishop e7 and both sides castle. Now begins the difference in the two setups. When I was researching this video, I came up with the new setup for me. I'm going to show that first, then at the end I'm going to show you what I play against it. Both are good. You let me know in the comments which one you might prefer. The new setup for me is rook to e1. What's the point of this move? Well, white wants to get the center. It looks like white already has the center with two pawns on d4 and c4. Now we go e4 pretty soon. At the moment that is not possible because black is guarding it with the knight and the bishop. But later we want this move, queen c2, e4, and in 1 to 2 minutes time I'm going to show you a very cool opening trap. There are many moves here for black, d5, knight e4, even this weird move, knight a6, which I'll show now. What's the point of this? Well, if white plays every single wrong move, then black gets a fantastic position. Let me show you. Knight c3, c5. Here, the best move is d5, getting more space. If you take, completely wrong. The black knights are just dancing, approaching the center. Knight to e4 coming soon. You can see the blue arrow. Black is ready to strike with d5. Bishop f4, good square. But you can't go to d6, d5. Black is striking in the center with d5, take. The two knights are very well placed, and this is just a terrible setup for white. When I say terrible, I mean equality. When we have the white pieces, we must fight for the advantage, so this is absolutely no good. If we go back a few moves, after knight a6, the point of this move is, well, you have to get the knight out. You can't go here because you just block the diagonal. There's no point. So black chooses to deploy the knight to a6, and now let's go h4. There are so many positions in so many openings where we flick in this move, and it's going to be useful. What's the point of this? To control g5 with the pawn, knight, and the bishop. Now what? Well, if they strike now, you can go d5. That's the cool thing. Later, I'm going to show you another popular response in 2 minutes time with d5. We're going to take, and then play this kind of position. Coming very soon. What if they go c5, now we go d5? And what's the point? It looks like we have just blundered a pawn, but that is not what's going to happen in this video. I'm going to show you many different cool setups. After d5, we're going to play this funky move, knight h2. Now we see the point of h4. Not only are we getting space, but we are providing this really cool retreat. We are using this diagonal. We can take knight c3 here. Knight c3, and now e4. We can get more space, f4, h5, knight g4. I really like this kind of position. Next key moment, rook e1. Black might play the next most popular move, which is knight e4. In 2 minutes time, I'm going to show you d5, which is a very popular choice. Knight e4. Now we put pressure on this knight with queen c2. No, we actually put pressure with knight e5. If you learn one thing in this video, it's about seizing the right moment to put pressure on this diagonal. With the Queen's Indian bishop, which is the black bishop on b7, we contest it with our own fianchetto bishop. What a funny looking move, knight d6. We do not want to play well, we want our opponent to play this negative move. We can swap, or we can even go e4 block. I don't really mind which option you go. You might as well just misplace the knight. How funny is that, where the two knights are on terrible squares? And then you can play this kind of position where white is now a little bit better. Another option is you can go queen c2, but I don't really like this option. Actually, maybe I do. Ah, yes, you can go queen c2. And then, if they go f5, which is a normal way for black players to defend, now you can hop in. What's the point? Doesn't matter if they kick us away. The knight can actually come to f4. So here is a blunder from black. If they go knight d7, they should go queen d7 just to defend. But if they play a normal move, knight f4 is already so strong. Is already so strong. We are putting so much pressure in the center. Can you see that knight has danced around? 1, 2, 3. Going to a really good square on f4 to attack e6. And already white is better. e5, the knight can just hop in again. Knight d5. Take, hitting the rook. Hitting the rook, and we're taking here. The center will open up as well. We're going to be up a pawn. So if the rook moves back, we can take. Why not? Up a pawn. Good. Now, the next key moment, they jump in with knight e4. Another key moment, they go c5. Then in a few more minutes time, I'm going to show you d5, where they strike in the center. That's the most normal way to approach. If they go c5, very similar to the first thing we saw before, we go d5. Getting space, we're using this tactic where we are not going to take back straight away, or else we lose a pawn. We are going to play knight out the way. That's a good one. Coming into f5. Black cannot take because you lose the bishop. That's the best move, because then the bishop attacks this. Okay, now what? Well, the tension in the center is now working out in white's favor, because white now has central space. Take. The knights are hanging. No way will you take this one. You take this, you are facing as well. Bishop back to f6. And now, well, in this kind of position, I think white's just a bit better. How can we approach this? Knight c3, knight d2. I don't really mind. Maybe the knight can sit. The knight can sit on this square or this square. So let's go knight d2. And if d6, drop it back. It's fine. Now you've got two options. Very important in chess. You don't know where a certain piece goes. It's okay to give yourself two options. See, in this kind of position, it's new for me as well. I wasn't really sure where the knight would go. I've got one more move to change my mind. Maybe it belongs on c4. Don't know. If they play b5 to guard that, I think we can put pressure with a4, or we go knight e4. Here. Knight d4. If it drops back, then we can just play this. The knight is actually on a fantastic square. Or bishop f4. Why not? And then here, in this kind of position, white is a little bit better. Good. Knight e4. Queen c2 is another option. And then knight c3. This is the opening trap I was talking about before. So after knight e4, I showed knight e5 earlier. No, I showed c5 earlier, excuse me. So knight e4, now we go queen c2, putting pressure on this. No pressure yet, bishop defends it, but opening trap happening now. d5. Now we go knight c3, what a cool move. Putting pressure. And it looks like black needs to deal with this pressure. You can't take, because the knight drops. If you go f5, then that square belongs to white. Also, it's just so ugly, really, this kind of pawn structure. I don't think f5 is the best. Even you can do this. Take, and then the bishop can go to f4. The bishop can go to f4, into e5, knight e5, rook d1, rook c1. Looks good. There's just a gaping hole, a gaping outpost for white. Let's go back and move here. d5, knight c3. Here is the cool opening trap. Knight c3, take. Now you take with a pawn. When I first saw this kind of position, I thought you just take with a queen. Yeah, normal, but I think black might be okay now with c5, just trying to swap off lots of pawns. The cool thing is, we take with the pawn, we over defend our center, and then we set up the trap. Take, loses. It loses in a normal tactical fashion where the queen is on the white square diagonal. Knight g5 now wins. Double exclamation mark. Why not? For a cool opening trap. Notice all of white's moves are good anyway, so trap or no trap, even. If our opponent doesn't fall for it, we still employ the setup. Knight g5. Checkmate is threatened. You should take the knight, but then you take the bishop. Don't be too clever, guys. Don't be too clever, because it looks like it's almost the same thing. It is almost the same thing, but on the previous move here, black has a brilliant move where you actually defend it. So, no need to be too clever. We can just go bishop takes, bishop, hit the rook, and we can just win the rook on the very next move. So, really cool opening trap. Let's go back a few moves here. So, they should not take. They might strike in the center. They might go knight d7, I mean, and then we can take first. If they take with a bishop, that's the cool thing, e4, and can you see the point of this rook move along with the queen? White is a great position. So, when you play a Queen's Indian player, they should take with a pawn anyway. Now c4, that's the cool thing. White recaptures with this b pawn here, and then you go c4 anyway. It's like you're setting two opening traps in the same video. How cool is that? What a cool phrase. I never thought of it. Take, and now it's the same thing. Knight g5. Don't think I've ever seen this before, where there's a double chance to set a double trap. Knight g5. Threatening mate again. You should take. You don't block because you lose the bishop. So you must get your piece for it, and then you hit the rook. It moves, and then, well, white's in control. Let's get rid of the bishop and then hit the knight. Why do we hit the knight? Because when you hit it, then queen takes c4 is next. And then you will be up a pawn. Let's do a count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hang on. I'm not up a pawn. No, sorry. Not up a pawn. You're just better. Bishop is much stronger than the knight. e4, e5, d5. Get the pawns rolling. White is a bit better. Good. Now, here we go. The crux. Then, final moment. I'm going to show you what I used to play. I think next time when I play the queens against the Queen's Indian, I'm going to try this. d5. You're going to expect this most of the time. Pawn to d5. Take. The point of this is you must give your opponent the hanging pawn center. Most of the time your opponent will take back with the pawn, and then I want you to play against the center. I want you to go bishop f4. Don't go knight c3 too early, which looks normal. They can go knight e4. Pieces are coming off a bit too quickly for me. This is a very important strategy when you have the white pieces. When you have more space, you should keep lots of pieces on. Bishop f4 is a good move anyway. You want to control lots of dark squares. Knight e5 here, h4, h5 later, which was the first cool maneuver we saw in the first variation. Bishop f4. Now knight c3. Hanging pawn centers. c5, bad move. Rook c1. Just go rook c1. Another terrible move where they relieve all the tension in the center. Already this is looking so good for white. Knight d4. Lots of options for the knights to jump in. The knight on d4 sits beautifully. Knight can go to b5, knight can go to f5. Look at the blue arrows. We're putting pressure on the d5 square. They go c4, which is a normal way for them to get play. Now we can go knight e5. Already this is looking so good for white. If take, just take with the pawn. The entire center just collapses. That's why we give our opponent a hanging pawn center, because they might get their pawns in the center, but they drop. That's why I am not a fan of this opening. That's why I'm showing you how to play against it. Like this. Something like this. The pawns are dropping. Okay, let's go back to this variation, and then one more, and then that might be it for our lesson today. Here we go. Knight d7, knight c3. What if they go knight e4 early? Now queen b3. That's the cool moment. Queen b3. This was a new move for me. Notice on the previous move, the knight actually defends d5. You might be thinking, okay, so what, William? So what? If knight e4, now the queen goes to b3, we hit. So, black might get rid of this, and now you take with a b pawn, and c4 is that pawn break which we had before, setting up that really cool trap. There's no trap here, we just want to break, open the center. They go knight f6, knight e5. This is one thing I keep mentioning. If you learn one thing in this video, it is this diagonal is now open. Knight e5, bishop g5. See, h6 is actually a cool move here, and then you might get space with a4, a5. You might go c4, but if they play a bad move, bishop g5 is already cool, and here is a blunder. If they kick, then we have a chance to win the exchange. Whenever there are chances to show traps from good openings, I will show them, because your opponents can fall for them. h6, bad move, we can take. They need to take with the g-pawn, but then their pawns are just so ugly. You can drop the knight back, d3, g4, don't mind, but if they take with the queen, then we can fork. We can win the exchange. Queen has to move, and then we can take, and then we're good. Just put another pawn on dark square to restrict their bishop. c4 pawn break coming soon. White is winning. Final moment. Yes. g3, bishop a6, b3. Okay. Few more moments. Yes. This is actually another really good line. Bishop a6, they put pressure on the pawn, so you just defend it. b3, normal way. Check. Now the point is we can't block with the knight, so we go bishop d2. Bishop can go back to e7, that's fine. This is one way for our opponent to play. They displace the bishop. Now we go knight c3, because we want to go e4 now. Castle, you can go e4. Or you just go bishop g2, I don't really mind. e4, maybe now they go d5. And then they're getting this bishop off. So maybe we can't play e4 so early. So in this moment, I actually want you to just go bishop g2. They might go d5, that's fine. We want our opponent to have the hanging pawn center, something like this. Knight e5. The bishop can come to f4. The rook can come to c1. Rook e1. Already we have a nice position. If they go c6, the point of this, they want to go d5. So knight c3. c6, now we can go e4. And if they go d5, cool move here, we can go bishop to d3. And if it's, can you see that pawn? It's looking like a wasted push. It's fine. We just need to change our minds. Bishop d3, and here black can, I think black can strike in the center. But if black plays a bad move, now we have a good position. Really good position. The queen can come to c2, bishop c3, and castle. Now, one more moment. Bishop d2. They might take. That's fine, you take with the queen. Take with the queen, and then there are a few ways for them to strike. If they strike, normal. You can go bishop g2, then knight e5. Or you can take first, and then go bishop g2. You're just giving them the hanging pawn center. What's another way to handle this? c5, here. If they go c5, careful not to go d5. Now our bishop is actually on a bad square. Take, take. Their bishop is stronger than ours. I do not like this kind of transition where their bishop's really strong, and can you see they haven't got that bishop anymore. Black has less space. They've managed to trade off a set of pieces, a set of bishops, but they've less space now. They've traded off bishops. Right, so here, let's go back. I just want to change up after queen d2. They strike in the center. d5, bishop g2. Bad move. Look out for this. This is one thing you've learned in this video. You get the diagonal first. White will be better. Knight e5. Can't go. Knight d5. Take. And now we are winning. And after f6, can't drop the knight back because bishop takes. So now we can take first. And then take. Hitting the rook. c6. Really, really cool move. Blowing open the diagonal. d5. Why not give it double exclamation mark? It's such a fancy move. Why not put it in this video? Really cool fancy move to blow open the center. They go c5, d6. How often do you ever see two central pawns in this fashion? One more key moment. They might just castle. It's fine. Just go bishop g2. d5, same thing. Get the diagonal first. Knight e5. It's okay. And then castle. Normal position. Just play this. It's fine. And I believe, is there one more moment? Yes, next chapter here. This is what I play against the Queen's Indian. It's an early knight c3, but I already showed you rook e1 in the previous bit. Knight e4, now bishop d2. What's the point of this fancy looking bishop move? Take. If black takes, take with the queen, and then we get center. We get the center. Something like this is already looking really good for white. Don't want this. You might be thinking, okay, well, so what? Well, in this moment, black should not take the other way, because then the bishop is on a great diagonal. That's the best move. Put the bishop in there. If you do this, then queen c2. That's the key move. e4. It's about where white is greedy, saying, white has the chance to get the full center, so I will take it. If you do not fully occupy, I will go e4 next. d5, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter now, the knight can sit in. Something like this. Already, so much pressure on the diagonal. That's one thing we've learned today. Okay, well, what's the point of William talking? Bishop f6, now you go bishop e1. That's the cool, really cool rerouting. What a fancy journey for the bishop to slide back. What's the point of this? Now we put pressure. Now we put pressure here. Queen c2. That pawn, it can't go to f5, so a capture might happen and take, and now we go e4. We go e4, and then I really like the position. If you go d5 now, I think we can just, it's the same thing. Put the knight in e5, rook to d1, rook e1. There's a chance to take, maybe e4, looking strong. This kind of position is looking strong. And in the previous moment, what was the call I saw on the engine? Queen c8 just to defend the bishop, and now we can go e4. Fine. You can go bishop h3. How cool is that? Getting the bishop out on that diagonal. I prefer e4. Why not? e4, rooks to the middle. Just go e5, d5. Take over central space. Looking very strong. Those are all the key moments from this Queen's Indian video. Let's go to the outro. Let me know in the comments also which is a really cool variation you've learned today. Outro time. If I am on the camera, no, my head is out. Doesn't matter. Top left corner. You want to stick around for more high quality opening videos. Master the best chess opening, your ultimate guide. This video now has 5,200 views on the channel. Top left corner, and then bottom left corner is Beat the Buddhist Pest Gambit. It's almost got 4,000 views, so these are two high quality videos on my channel. If you want to stick around to keep learning, to keep improving your openings.